Okay, welcome to a long tutorial. This is going to be a mix of things. We're going to cover how to set up a character from scratch, how to use the volume tissue setups to make fat for a character, and just how to set up everything animation and CFX rig wise. This is really about doing the process on a new character and not using the examples that we have provided. So we're going to start with setting down a geometry node where we've just opened up. I'm in the technical or the test scene, but I'm just going to create a new geometry node and then just name it to. We got Mr. Big Man. We put down a file node. We're just going to import that. You can actually, I'm going to import a FBX, so character import will work as well too. And you can see here if we do Mr. Big Man, see him right there. Although he is very small in this one. So you can see that there's problems with his scaling. So we go back to the file node on this one. Yeah, either one of these will work, but you can see that basically we're looking for regular units. So 1 unit is 1 meter in Houdini. And with that, this character, I don't know how tall they are, but basically we're going to say he's probably, within 1 to 2 meters tall. And we'll start from there. Now, he's got a lot of attributes on here, and I have my little geometry spreadsheet here, and you can see we get all these different FBX rotation attributes, anything like that. This stuff, our color attribute is on the vertices and alpha as well too. We get normals and UVs, and then a bunch of different attributes that we just don't need. We probably will keep name, and then probably don't need anything else. Sometimes shot material path is useful, especially for splitting up geometry, but we'll just keep it simple and then go make an attribute delete. And oops, we'll just say delete everything. And then we'll delete everything in here, but put a not on the texture. So if we press space and 5, you'll see we still have our UV textures, and you can also go choose that from here, set U to UV or perspective. Now, I believe it's called a match axis. Oh no. Possibly match size. I believe it's this one. Put that down. It's going to move them. Let's not move none. But what we want to do is min on the justify Y. So this character sits, whoopsies, on top of the origin. And this is pretty much set up the way we need it to be. And you can see, yeah, he's a pretty tall guy, but that's it. So with that set, we can now go in and put down our first node. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot to remove his pants. I know what you're thinking. It's okay. Let's do it. You can keep them on if you wanted to. I don't think it's a good idea to if you want to do a sim on them later. So we're just going to blast everything but the body. There's a nice technique to do this as well too. Polysoup makes all of the primitives into just a few primitives of different pieces. So you can see nails, eyes, body, teeth, underpants. That makes it a lot easier to do the deletion. And I forgot to do this as well too. So we'll just do delete everything but the name. And then we'll just have a expression we can do at name equals body. And then you'll see we got to use a capital B to match the syntax and just invert it. So, no eyes. There's still a mouth sock. Fingernails were there. Yeah, everything's good. So with that, why don't we convert it back to polygons because we need to have it as polygons. If you leave it as soup, it will break the setups. We can also make a Watertight Mesh node. This is a Procedural Anatomy node. And what this is going to do is basically just close those eye holes. These are eye holes, yay! And then start working on this. You can see that it inside the mouth sock, it's removed some of it, but you can iterate on that and hopefully it'll move more. No? Let's see. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Getting a little bit better. You want that to be as few as possible. Like as little as possible for the mouth sock there. And the other option is also just select a bunch of polygons in there, delete them, put the watertight mesh on after, and it'll sort that out for you. Let's now place our model node. So, procedural anatomy, model. Now, there are a few things we need to know about this. It will error as long as we haven't cached it yet, but we are not ready to cache it yet. We have to do a few things. For this character, what happens is we want to create fat for him as well too, because obviously muscles are underneath layers of fat. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. We could smooth out the fat, basically, sculpt it. I think I'm going to switch to my pen tablet right here and just do a bit of painting first. Attribute paint. And we just have a mask on here. Let's make this, let's make it really big. Yeah, as much space as possible. And then before I do anything else, I guess symmetry should be enabled. And you can see that it's enabled this way. So if I paint over here, it's going to be over there. And I really want a 0 or 1 mask to start with. I don't really want to waste time painting anything else. So you can switch it to a surface brush, which is number 2 down here. So I was on the volume brush, switch to the surface brush, and then we're actually going to go and turn off opacity pressure, radius pressure, soft edge, and then boom, we've got just pure red, pure blue, 0 or 1, depending on how you want to display it. But the point is, we're painting areas of fat. So let's just paint anything in here that we're going to consider fat or volume that, is extra on top of the character. Some of this I would advise not doing. So, whoopsies. The main points of where bones protrude on people tend to be the same, even with like fat people or larger people or anybody. The iliac crest is something to pay attention to with placing your bones. And for the most part, always right here where the leg meets the belly, you're most likely not going to have a lot of fat there, or the roll might come over it or something. But point is, you'll want to have some control over that area. And I can't remember how to make this smaller. Radius. It was shift or something. No, I just changed that. Yes, Control and Shift and drag. I bet you it's up here. Control. No. Control plus Shift radius. Well, there you go. And make it smaller. And just paint areas that you want to smooth out. Legs are not crazy super fat or anything like that. Neck is, but there are some limitations with the current version. We'll go over that, and hopefully those will get fixed up too pretty soon. We'll say that. We're just getting in there and getting what we can done with that direction. Yes, that's why it looks weird. Set that back to 0. This should always be 1, 0, 0, or whatever direction you want to mirror in. So, X, Y, Z. X is down here in the corner. X is the first one here. So we're mirroring from positive X to negative X, or negative to positive. Doesn't matter. It's the point is that it's X. We can do that. Now, let's just do a little bit more of here. Just make it smaller as you go. Just try to smooth out or just paint areas that are needing it. And I think like this, that's why I did it. It's middle mouse button. Anyway, Control, we'll get rid of some of that. Just do this. And the big, yeah, there we go. Love it. It's beautiful. Now, this area as well. And this one. Yeah. I mean, we could go to do a lot more with this, but basically we're just going to smooth it out now. And do. There we go. Smooth enough. I think let's do this, but now that we've smoothed it, obviously we're going to have to put the radius back and soft edge have a finer touch. I feel like Bob Ross on Twitch now. Just pretty little details right under the boob. Anyway, with all that done, we have our character. So I'm going to save my scene because I'm smart. And then we can look at just what we can use this for. We can put down an attribute blur. And with our mask, just, whatever. Not perfect, but you have control of going back and forth with it. Selection is empty. Imagine that. The main thing is just trying to remove pinching and things. You can use any type of blur that you want as well. Smooth works, Delta Mush. Delta Mush is, you probably have to do something to sort out using a mask with it, but it's totally possible. And I guess the only thing to mention here is that I'm visualizing the blur with the blue tick on here, but I've selected the mask, so I'm painting the mask. So good enough for that. Just a sculpt node after that. And I always put it down to 0.01. It works really well at this scale. And then if you want to also, don't forget reflective in this instance, deform and smooth points, the left mouse operation, that one tends to work pretty well just to kind of relax points basically. And we could just, continuously do that. Basically, we want to bring it back to here, bring back some rib cage. Maybe we can put this again. Just focus on, if we reset all this, And then we'll just name it something other than mask and put another one down. Mask 1, whatever. And then this one with the same settings and everything like that. Just get rid of these little peaks. Oh yeah. This is what you came for, isn't it? Anyway, it's just to sort out kind of smooth that stuff out. Good idea to put the template of the original body on so you see what's going on there. You can see the problems with the legs that I've created. They're not great right here. Basically, you want some muscle definition, like where the bicep femoris would be. The adductor magnus, which is in the middle of your leg right here. That one just should have more volume, but the basics of it is all there. And then, just grab that. Make everything look nice. We're cleaning up, clean up. And then we get a watertight mesh of that character. So not perfect. This is a quick version of it, but we'll go through the whole process and then we can make it better. But essentially what we're doing here is if we put down a null just to give it a nice name, muscle shape. So this is the shape that your character is if they didn't have any volume that you're adding to that, or that they actually have. And this is the volume shape. And that's the original character. So we've got original character, same point count as the mesh that we want to render or cache or put in our game or what have you. The sculpted shape that may have that will have possibly a different point count. Doesn't matter. This one is the same shape as the character, the renderable mesh, but just possibly different point count, but it is watertight. So we'll name it like that and plug these guys in. So they go in one at a time, in model, muscle shape, tissue shape model. We can call this tissue shape, I guess. Okay. And there we have it. Now we have to name our character again, Mr. Big Man. And to get to the starting point with this character model, we will recache. Doot, 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 doot. Okay, let's skip. Permission error. I've been getting a lot of messages about this one. The permission error, there are things we're going to fix, and this is one of them. This is basically something you shouldn't worry about quite yet. With the model cached, you'll see that now it's not erroring. Basically, you'll get your skeleton at a pose like this. And we just want to go through and set the character up super quick, get something so we can do the whole process really quick. And then we can come back and fix things in a bit. But the main thing is viewing and selecting the character and going into the mode. You can see the modifications you're doing and do the modifications. Basically, you have to select the anatomy model node in the network view and then go into the viewport and press enter. And that'll bring up the controls. Now, if you want to go through, there's a bunch of different options on the right click. The guides is kind of my favorite one to change first to just only seeing the character's ghost, basically. Pretty scary. And then, going through and setting these up. Now, I'm clicking on the sphere and then pressing F to go into a click mode, and that'll allow you just place it wherever you click. And press F and click, press F and click. And then you do have to, absolutely have to, rotate these yourself into position. It's not automatically setting these up for you yet. Love to do that, but we're not quite there yet as a tool set. The main thing is now that you have this, and just for your reference as well too, my orientation is pointing down. If you right click and go align handle, you can see a bunch of different ones. The hotkey is M. So you can go to object and then world will always go Y is up and everything. So this might be the one you want to use for some of them. Although like the hands and things, you know, like component is the one I use the most. It's just to orient things around. If we go back to F and click, we're going to organize these into the right position. So rotate, pivot, and then get that close, you know, move it around, and then Y, cycle through, translate, rotate, scale. We're going to scale it up slightly. Press Y again and get back to our multi-selector. And then get it close, you know, whatever. Then I see a lot of people going through and, you know, you place the head, kind of whoopsies, and that makes this part huge. This is your jaw pivot. So you want this to be kind of close to the ear, actually, but we'll get back to that. Once we get these out of the way, you have to have, this is your C7 vertebra, essentially. That needs to be at the base of the neck, as well as the clavicles, which go to the front, and the kind of bottom of the sternum with this one. Now, looking at this, I've kept it inside the mesh, but we're looking at the volume or the model actually. So what you want to actually be able to do is, we didn't include that one there. We should do it. We should switch it to the muscle shape model. Now, this is your muscle shape model. You can see that our hips are just super wide. Like that. Just move this guy around. It's, again, really not perfect. The shoulders are up here. Not perfect, but we're getting there. Move this guy around. And now you can see that the jaw has aligned itself because it's scaling automatically based off the positioning of every bone in the neck area automatically. And there are some things that we got to do that before. I guess before we put down the skeleton, let's just take this one and we'll turn the finger auto align on. We're pretty close actually with that one because we got it so close to start with. You have to orient them correctly to get them to align. And, you know, sometimes you do something like this and it's like, oh, I'm missing a finger. It's not you're missing a finger. You haven't rotated them into position yet. And it's something that we're going to try and make some kind of algorithm to fix that, but it will just be faster to skip to the next section and basically do it. Now I've pressed escape. I'm going to go here and place down the skeleton node, anatomy skeleton. And that'll just take a moment. Okay, so we've got the skeleton now. We can just visualize the skeleton. And you'll see, again, the skeleton's inside the character. There are some problems, but for the most part, if we switch to the muscle shape, it's inside this character. And then we still have space for the volume character there. I don't know what that isn't showing up. Maybe there is a bug. We'll see. But, you know, for the most part, this character has been aligned. There are some problems down here, definitely. But let's go ahead and place down the muscles now. And here we can go for a coffee, call mom, look outside. I think there's a garbage truck going to come by soon. There's always garbage trucks coming by my place for some reason. My cat's prowling in the background. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So again, we'll switch to the muscle shape just to see an idea of where we're at with it. Yeah, the placement of this is not great, but let's move on anyways. We'll do the whole process and then come back. Anatomy, tissue. And there we have it. It did work. Not perfect, but we'll get there. Yeah, not bad. You can see like the latissimus dorsi is like getting really fat right here, so we gotta sculpt the armpit to go in slightly. And the muscles are just completely screwed up there, but that's something we'll fix. And just so you're aware, let's put down the anatomy output. And when you visualize this, you will see nothing because we haven't saved it yet. But that's all fine. We're gonna go back and just like guess how much our weight of this character is. You have to put this in for the sim to work correctly. So, this guy, kilos here. All you Americans and British are gonna hate me, but kilos. What is it? 100 no, it must be 150 kilos or something like that. Like, let's say let's be benefit of the doubt 140. So what is that? 2.2 for pounds. That's like 280. No, probably 300 pounds. So good luck with stone. I don't know how to count that. Anyway, that's enough as we have to do. If you do 10 kilos over, 10 kilos under, you're probably going to not notice a whole difference in your sim. But obviously 1 to 140 is going to be massive difference. So definitely setting it in there. But yeah, this button actually doesn't quite work yet, but we're gonna be playing that guessing game soon. And we haven't done that, but let's go back and fix the skeleton first. And we'll say the muscle shape model and say the bottom of the sternum is just a bit low. So you can see it right here. Our rib cage is very close to our pelvis. We're going to move that up. I pressed Y to change that hotkey. And then start just by that. Now, this isn't great. And I will say too, that all the problems that we're going to experience and try to fix here are stuff that I genuinely think could be better. But if you have any suggestions, please forward them. It's always nice to hear if you've got any good ideas, if we can implement them to make this a better tool set. Love to hear it. Obviously, the skull here is just completely off. So one of the things that will help you in doing this quickly is if you set I guess you can't see it, but there's the auto update on mouse up and manual selection down here on the bottom right-hand side. We're going to choose on mouse up. And that will allow us to just start moving quickly, and then it'll update once it's ready. Get that kind of into the right shape and space. Just trying to get the teeth aligned, the eye socket aligned, and then the head, we can basically just scale it up, right? And it can scale in different ways as well. We didn't really fix the fat cheeks, but life happens. And then we're going to go to the selection on the skull. Like we can press enter on the skull. The skull grow shrink is very minute details kind of thing. Like you can kind of bring it back and then grow the cranium if you want to. That did work last time I checked it, but check again. Doesn't work. Okay, well, this one does. Grow shrink skull does work. Oopsies. Just bring that scale in slightly. I mean, the head, we don't sim anything on the head quite yet. There's a possibility we will do face muscles, but let us know if that's something that interests you. I guess the next thing to do here is that scapula is like going outside the body. One cool feature of this tool set is all the useful SDF functions. I mean, basically all they're doing is just keeping it inside the body. So you can see that now turning this on and off brings it all the way in. It's not a good idea to start with that on because you can see right here like some of the problems we're getting with the arm. And this is something that, again, we're going to fix it. It's not in a great position right now, I know that. But this is basically only the first layer. We're going to dive deeper by pressing G. And wow, look at all that. Now you have way more of these controls, right? And then, oh my God, it's too much. Too much. So I don't really want you to be playing around with this, but you do have it as an option. This is every bone in the body. Basically, you can control the orientation and the positioning on it. The main thing is that you have control over multiple levels. And once you kind of understand which level you can edit and how you can edit it, it'll become a lot more powerful for you. The main one that you can see right now is the orange one, and that is just to move things around and get things positioned. The next one down, if you press G, is basically to kind of fine tune positioning and things like that. So let's go fine tune some of this stuff, right? Like specifically, I like the blue one for the hand because the hand, you could still use the F selection and kind of like select it, move it around. I switch to my tablet, boom, and then boom, and then boom, get it all in the right position. And then select this guy, boom, boom. Also, you have to make the sound or it doesn't work correct. Yeah, for the most part, that's okay. Now, what you're seeing here is like, okay, orientation's a little bit funky because I think Z should be up right here. So we should fix that at one point. I mean, you'll see it here. Maybe it's just my hand is all screwed up and that's why. But there should be a proper up orientation for the character fingers, and unfortunately, it's not respecting that right now. I wonder if it's because. We'll look into it. It should be a little bit easier to handle than that. So anyway, with that, you can see that we've got a different color of edit right here. And essentially, these edits are one-sided right now. To mirror them to the other side, it works slightly differently than the layer above, the orange layer. This one, you actually have to press a button to do that. You have to press H to mirror it. So you can see that now it's mirrored to this side. And so we can go through and just, again, as we go, oops, moved something there. And now our thumb is mirrored exactly. And then again, press F. I'll mirror that. We'll see that everything is starting to come together for his fingers. I'd like to go from this side just because the tips tend to be the biggest problem to start with. And we can kind of align it Just run through all these. I like to position them actually before I run through and make sure they're all mirrored. One limitation as well too, like if we go like this, so you can see the finger is in front of the body right now. If I press F on it, it's going to go to the inside the body. Right now, that is a bug. It's going to get fixed. It goes to the last one instead of the first one, which is very, very silly. No, so we got to go through here. Try to keep an eye on both sides. Try and just play, get those into the right position. These ones, whoops, there we go. Yeah, the foot, we've got every bone in the foot kind of like with an actual animation bone. Not great right now. Another one we want to work on, and as well as the patella, the knee bone, basically. These ones are all in various states of like most of it works, but there's one thing that causes problems. For the patella, it doesn't scale properly to larger characters, but the foot bones right now, there's not too much that looks wrong with this, but they can like become the wrong orientation or anything like that, and just become problematic. And I think the only thing I'm going to do here, switch to the scale, just bring it in slightly. You can see like something's happening there, but not a huge deal. What we're going to do is turn that SDF back on. We've limited in the body. Actually, you know what? The one that I needed to do was right here. And it's only on the high end one, but you can see that you can move these around with the bones. Like you don't like where it is, you can move it over. And honestly too, oh, and I guess just show you that, yes, it does mirror to the other side by becoming yellow. Yeah, when things become so colorful, it's not great to mirror it. Whoops, let's double check. Press the wrong button again. Story of my life. There we go. So now we'll again go back. We're going to test out the muscles. Getting better, not great, but getting better. You can see some of these muscles are going through each other. This is going to be going back in and sculpting that, and maybe I'll skip that for this second, but the scapula as an example. If we come in here, there are multiple places to go shape things. So there's a spine fix, scapula. For the most part, these I can't guarantee that any of this stuff will stick around. The best way seems to be move it by hand and bring this stuff in just slightly. You can see that it does shift the rib cage around to compensate for that as well too. But the main one we got to do here is kind of get the right positioning for the top of the scapula. And you know what? I really do believe that that also includes fixing where this arm is. I don't know about you guys, but man, my anterior deltoid, yeah, not super huge, So this guy's would be if it was that far back. And yeah, there you can see that these are crashing through each other. There was shaping on the rib cage for that. I think you can turn the iterations down, and also if you want to make it less thick like that, you can. But I think in this instance, the shape of my sculpt is so terrible that it's not going to be great if I do that. These ribcage back shape iterations at the very bottom here will help you out. Basically, you can turn it down or turn it up, and that'll allow it. It's basically kind of like smoothing it. Boom. Yeah, just totally destroy it. Yeah. Scoliosis. Something like that. Not great, but it'll work. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is oh, and look at that. The shape of the rib cage does not meet up with the back. So let's go through and do the spine as well and go over scaling, things like that. Now you'll see that you can actually scale up the side, this guy, and, again, maybe something like that. But I actually, you know what? I think that we go back and select the anatomy model node, go to shaping, spine fix. You can straighten slightly, but that doesn't bring it back to the back of the spine there. What we need to do is actually rotate it. So there is these rotate functions. You can just kind of play around with that slightly, but also maybe the positioning of this. Usually it's the positioning actually more than anything that really gets you. Because, if you're anything like me, you were never trained as a kinesiologist, so your anatomy is probably not great. I don't know. I'm very adept at like learning how to match things, but not necessarily in a whoops, wrong one. In the other way there. So yeah. Well, let's go back here. I like to just match these up because then it just scales them forward as well too. Maybe it's I guess I scaled them very far out to the side there, so we can bring this back slightly. And you can see that it's going to like limit itself at the skin, right? So, whoops, and bring it back somewhere around there. Just this crazy spine. Uh, Not perfect. Got a little straightening in there. Something like that. And that at least gets you to match up the spine with the back. Um, yeah, not great, but scale adds 5, a little bit less crazy. We'll be adding more tools to get that working. The spine should have a match to your character's kind of contours and everything like that, and we know about that. It's just you know tool design. Hmm. Probably just still too wide, actually, or something like that, like on the sculpt. I mean, and I would say too, like the more realistic your sculpt or your character is, like in terms of proportions and things like that, the more likely this tool will work for you. But we can do some of this side multiplier. That brings these in very close together, so that's not a good idea. But you can always shift around, bring it back. And let's go see this. The whole thing. Okay. Now, there's still some holes here. Maybe we can do something like that. I mean, the real thing you should be doing here is going back to your muscle shape versus your tissue shape here. Just taking a look at it. I mean, basically, we could bring that in a little bit. Yeah, I want to deform. Let's go crazy. Whoopsies. Bring it in. And I'm just going to smooth. And smooth. This is so weird. Anyway, so we've changed how that whole thing works. So you do have to go and recache Mr. Big Man. Mr. Big Man. Yeah, I know. Thank you. And we're visualizing the tissue, seeing all them muscles. Still got a hole there, but muscles are still problematic there. Basically, anytime you see something going through like this, it's just straight up not going to work. I mean, it will possibly sim, uh, but you want to get this stuff sorted out, and that generally means there's problems with your bones when it's muscles crossing into muscles and stuff, and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, maybe let's go back here. We'll try this again. Turn this off. Oh, look at that. Did I hit reload? Oh, yeah. Just double checking. Thought I sculpted it a little bit thinner, but let's start off by fixing the humerus, which is, you can go see any name of any bone here or muscle by selecting the anatomy muscles and learn your anatomy names. Biceps brachii. I'll hide all these guys and look at all this problems right here. Yeah, you can see that it's, a lot of intersections and things like that, which is not good for your simulation. Some of them are not painted correctly still, but that's fine. Let's go back here, and where we can, we will remove the side expansion. We will, yeah, you can see the scapula going inside. There we go. Oh, and this guy didn't get mirrored. There we go. Yeah, it's hard to gauge where some things are. Feels a little bit better. But yeah, back to the humerus. See too, it's crashing in there. So the humerus will be easier to modify on the arms and legs here. And so we've got a few different things. Like you can kind of play around with placement of muscles by doing different. And this is actually fast enough. We can play around with it like that. Maybe turn this guy just off or ghost. So you can see that you don't want to play with that too much. It's very for just slight changes. It's just, instead of changing the placement of the uh, muscles, we're changing the placement of the bone because the attachments on any muscle are always going to be generally the same. More likely, your bones will change shape. But we do have controls here which don't turn on automatically. You have to turn this on. You can see that it basically shrunk the head of the humerus because we're just blending to this scale value. The automated scale value didn't seem to work correctly for our needs. So we can play around with that. I think it's Z is that one. Turn this guy up. Come on, there we go. So these guys are all just the right shape and size, almost. Maybe it could be, it was X, something like that if you want. I don't know. Not great, but um, uh, preferably this system will be replaced and just a lot more accurate down the road. Uh, yeah, these ones are okay. Actually, I will not say that. They're, again, not great. Okay, and from there, uh, yeah, I think I might just make that default. Original radius and ulna. Basically, you can kind of control the shape of it heading towards the skin, outer skin. Definitely want to make it as close to the edge as possible. And I think, you know what, just seeing how the placement of this has gone, uh, maybe the shoulder would need to be in slightly, but we can also change to compensate for that. The problem I'm trying to articulate is the elbow doesn't quite match up. Maybe it's my terrible sculpting skills. Maybe it's something more than that. But basically, if we go to the anatomy model node, go to shaping knee and elbow, there's a bias you can control. And oof, geez, yeah, this is because actually, you know what? Very silly of me to be putting that, changing that, and then having that still on. The bias needs to be controlled kind of first. Oops. So going back, we'll say that's okay. A little bit better. Could be better. CBB could be better. Just mirror those over. See what's happening. And I keep on pressing the wrong button. And there we go. Skeleton's a little bit more accurate. Yeah, I would say really the problem that you will face, the hardest problem you will face is just your own knowledge of anatomy. We've really tried to make it so the bones define where the muscles go. So it makes it easier for you to not have to deal with actually placing the muscles. The bones in the right place will fix a lot of those problems. This one still tends to go through there because I haven't fixed that sculpt. So let's go back. Based off of these. Bringing that elbow pit in. My voice makes it sound like this is some sort of taking some sort of effort, but it's really just me sitting here. Yeah. Now, I've seen this happen on like models before where this basically gets flattened off, and that's not what happens in reality. There is a separation between the pectoralis, which is here, and the underarm serratus, which is right around here that you'll see, and the latissimus dorsi that comes down and around it. And anybody who knows a little bit of anatomy knows this kind of pokes in, you know what, and makes, makes some strange shapes. There we go. I'm a great sculptor, aren't I? Oh my god. Please don't rate my tool based on the quality of my sculpting. Anyway, so yeah. I could have picked a better character to do this with maybe, but you know what? I just say, you know what? Judge me on my sculpting. Bad idea. Bring that back into. I swear I did this last time, but maybe I lost it or something. Okay, we'll do this. Recache. Got my error. Ooh, this error. Okay, and now we're going to reload. And yes, we've got better sculpt. Now let's take a look at the final result. Yeah, a bit better. Still issues, but you know what? Things are separating a little bit better. That's getting overridden a bit, but we can work with this. Oh, that one's just straight up inside of another one. That's not going to work. There are fixes for that, though. I think we could make the pelvis slightly wider, and that would help out a lot. Okay, so the pelvis has what is it? Some very political parameters, but anyway, front width is actually where we kind of want to go with this. I think the positioning of the with femur, head of the femur can help as well too here. And like your iliac crest doesn't usually look like this. It should actually be a little bit more forward. So I'm going to switch to world. Just ever so slightly push that forward. We'll grab this. You can see the spine. W is going to wireframe mode. Kind of angle that forward. This usually is kind of like, you can feel it at the front of your hip kind of thing, right above your leg. That was that bone that I was talking about earlier. And, you know, I mean, look, straight up, another problem with my sculpting technique. There's no reason this should be popping out right here. Unless it's like extra fat or something like that. But on a lean person, that would probably be a little bit smoother. And I also noticed, hey, look at this, like lots of problems right there. The arms and legs will be right there. We can skip those. The femur, you can straighten the femur, but we don't want to quite do that yet. Let's go back to the pelvis. Take a look at that. I think actually, let's try it out. The model thickness, all that stuff should be fine. Let's take a look at the clavicle too. You can slightly straighten that. It's not realistic for a man to have a straight clavicle. I've been told that women do have straighter clavicles, but they should tend to look like an S, basically, for the most part. Now, the other thing I was going to do is just bring the bias of the leg, because we did the elbow. Now we need to do the knee. Just double check it, you know. Basically, you can see like this is where the muscles fit in for the, which one is that? Sartorius maybe or something, or bicep femoris. But the main thing is that we're looking at where the patella sits, and just slightly. And you know, I don't know if I'm gaslighting you by doing this, but honestly, I've found you do have to set these biases for the most part because people tend to, or at least 3D models tend to have probably like a mixture of incorrect placement and like the crotch is lower, so you feel like you can put the hip lower. It's kind of a problematic thing when you don't have accurate placement or an understanding of accurate placement. I mean, it's just one of those things, right? Where it's just hard to tell, and you just have to kind of play with it to make it work correctly. And on a character where you're sculpting the interior of the character to get, you know, a fat character or, you know, just any kind of volume like breasts or anything like that, you're making a lot of assumptions. So it's hard to make these guesses, and you just have to kind of go over it and do it a couple times. So we're gonna, whoops, we don't need to straighten the femur, although let's take a look at that. Why not? Just a quick one. Not happening in this one. The orientation of the knee could be better. So let's look at that. If you do it on this one, I'm pretty sure. And I'll just press M to go to the component. Yeah, there. Even push that over. And see where the patella ends up. If we remove that, you can see straightens it out slightly. And then what I actually wanted to do was the fibula and tibia. You can turn these off. These parameters are very much in a state of flux right now, so they will sometimes not do what you want. I think turning off the blend is the best one. I can't remember. Yeah. the way I've built some of this stuff when trying to get an accurate uh, setup for the fibula and tibia is really focus on the pivot points, getting those correct first. But getting the uh, control over the shaping of things between those pivot points is super important as well too. And quite frankly, like sometimes you just throw something at the wall and try it out as a slider, and then you'll end up having no reason to have it anymore because you'll find a better solution down the road. It's development, usual, and it's just it doesn't matter for that. But that should be a little bit better. I'm still thinking that that could come out to the uh, side of the leg a little bit more, or sorry, the inside right here at the front. If you touch your leg down there, you'll notice that it's pretty much just bone, and that's where it should be. So it should be on like this side, right here, this right here, this your fibula, and then let's see what the muscles do. I think one of the problems is actually that there would be a little bit of fat layer on this, and I didn't sculpt that. And also, the volume tissues stuff that we have right now, I don't think it's going to do the job for smaller fat deposits like that quite yet. I want it to be able to do that, but not quite happy with it at the moment. So we'll make it better down the road. But for the length of the beta, we'll be there like that. Yeah. Just check that again too. We've got all the stuff that we've done matched up. Let's save it out. Don't mind that one. There we go. Saved it out. We've got our renderable character here. We can put down a blast node. So you'll see nothing on the blast node on the first input, but if you go character component body, you can basically delete it. So you can see the character's muscles and bones in there, as we saw it here. And let's put down a null, just show you some more stuff. The rest skeleton of our character. So this is a KineFX compatible skeleton. If we turn on our names, you can see all the different names of every bone in there. Thumb 1, hey, thumb 1's great. All the zeros great. All these amazing bones. And then our simplified skeleton, for animation transferring. And then our collision and sim meshes, and rest lines for outputting flex values for your sim, and the tetrahedral mesh for doing a skin sim. And that is it for this part. We're gonna start doing some animation next, and maybe I'll cut that off into a second part or new video. We'll see. Enjoy.